Hey Jack, good to see
Hey,
you.
nice to see you. Yeah, I love talking old tennis with you. Not many people I can do that with, talking about old wood rackets and all that memorabilia you have behind you. It's a lot of fun and brings back old memories of the boys 12 and unders, 14 and under.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. But as many times we speak about it, no, you need to know more about the past to develop a better future. No, that's
I,
one of the key aspects because sometimes the world right now is so fast in many ways, but sometimes we are missing how many innovators we had in our sport. No.
it's true, and I'm afraid that just there's too many coaches out there. If something worked for them, they think it'll work for everybody, and that's not necessarily true. You have to, have different ways of communicating with your students, and you have to be always searching and always learning. I mean, you watch the greats, whoever it is, whether it's Kobe Bryant or whether it's Alcaraz, and you really you see how they're always working. Federer just kept trying and practicing and learning new things because, he wanted to keep improving even when he was number one. And I think too many coaches sort of just get relaxed in what they already know and go, well, I know this and I'm going to stick to this. But as you say, there's so many new innovations coming out, inventions, ways of thinking. We don't say get your racket back early anymore, right? We
Mhm.
don't say that anymore. We don't say a lot of things that we used to. So
Absolutely, absolutely, and that is important because we are going this week to the master course GPTCA ATP certified, which we are doing in Irvine, with plenty of great speakers. You're gonna be there, Brian Teacher, Peter Smith, Greg, Dr. Greg Pradham,
oh
and
yeah.
many others. Myself, but the most important thing.
I can't wait to hear it myself, to be honest with
Yeah.
you. Yeah.
But the main thing for me is that even for us, we have the will to and the grit to keep learning, keep evolving ourselves. We have more than 40 years working in our industry. And I think we need to bring back that culture of innovation to keep learning all the time, to bring something new. And that is important for coaches. Coaches probably they can challenge themselves to bring one drill which is innovative every day. If you are doing that, you are creating your mindset that you are always searching for something better, you know?
Yeah, no, it can be. I think what you're doing and what we're doing the GPTCA is really changing mindsets, and it can be very transformative for a coach. I mean, uh, to always keep searching. I mean, who knows? They might leave and go, my God, all these things I thought, I'm changing my mind on these things, right? So it can actually it can make you a better coach, but it can actually transform you as a coach. Like I said, back in the old days, it was, little stutter steps, racket back early, follow through. It was a very mechanical game. And it's come a long way in the last 50 years. We talk now about the coil and this and that. And not everyone knows exactly what these things are. They have a feeling of what it is. But with the guys that you've got at this conference, you can really go much deeper into these concepts.
And also, Jack, because you were cooperating with many coaches, you have your own company, your own program, your own products, helping others to be better coach and to be better player. But the most important, I think, change and transformation today is that we have an age right now of cooperation or collaboration. You know, probably in the past we were more close, in some way. We don't want to share. We have the atomic bomb formula, and it's mine. This is my player. And right now, I think the modern times require that you have an open mindset. You can learn from everyone, even with being a top coach. with a lot of experience, you can learn something new every day, not only in terms of the technical stuff, sometimes in communication, the way that someone is remarking things, communicating, understanding that every person is different. And from there, the ability of the coach to be on the process or to manage the process of the communication, of negotiation with the player, persuasion, which is another thing very important because you have to persuade, the people that they can manage the situation differently. uh, I think there are a lot of areas that we need to inspire the coaches to keep learning. Because even in a certification of 3 days, like we are doing with our friends in Irvine, it's not enough. It's only a stick of the needle, saying, guys, you must to wake up, you must to keep learning and discovering new things that you can apply in your own program.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny. The word collaboration is a big deal. I mean, when you and I re-engaged about a year ago, right? It wasn't that friendly. You had written something about open-mindedness, and I'm like, yeah, sure, because I had always sort of been in my own little world, right, with the eight board and all that stuff. I was in my own world, and you're right. A lot of pros didn't collaborate. They would keep their players close to them and didn't want to let out their secrets. Even my clients, I had a couple kids that were like number one in the country in the boys 14 and unders, let's say. Their parents wouldn't suggest me to other people. They didn't want me to coach other people. And that's all a big mistake because as what happened with you and I, we became very, very good friends and good collaborators and learned from one another. And I thank God I had softened my mind a little bit because, and decided, okay, let's let people in. Let's not be so negative or look for something negative. A good example, Brian Teacher and I, we chat a lot on the phone or on Zoom, and we come at things in a different way. He comes at things much more from the ground up, the feet, and I come at things from the core.
Mhm.
But it's funny, and even though we start off, sometimes arguing, we almost always, I would say always find common ground. And he learns from me and I learn from him, and he takes my stuff to the court and I take his stuff to the court. So I think that's really a big thing in tennis maturity, and I think that's what's important, and that's why I always when I do posts, I always go, "Hey, young coaches," right? Because young coaches are the ones, when you're younger, sometimes you think you've got it all figured out. But it's only when you get older you realize how little you know or how much you still have to learn. And I think that collaboration is a big deal. And in tennis, sometimes everyone sees each other as the enemy. But the fact is, you want each other to grow. I mean, thank God you have Sinner. How come you always have like pairs, Sinner, Alcaraz, Federer, Nadal, and then of course Djokovic and Murray, right? Borg and McEnroe. I mean,
Mhm.
you can keep going. There's because they learn from each other and they bring out the best in each other. And I think trying to hide from that is a mistake.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I think today, thanks for the technological world that we are living, there are a lot of resources that you can use to share what you think and also to open the minds of others. And I think that's a great opportunity because tennis, as you know, tennis is a very transformative sport. We used to say that you like a tennis player, you have the law of the mirror. No, you're gonna play like you are. You cannot put the dust under the carpet because
Right.
you're gonna play if you are a guy taking bad decisions, or if you are a player who is having doubts in the moment of you need to attack, or you are feeling the pressure, or you are creating anxiety, whatever. You're gonna play how you are like a human being, and that's why it's very important because tennis is showing you which is the areas that you can improve like human being. Sometimes we have a sport of 300 million people, no, playing tennis. Probably we sometimes we are speaking because you develop a lot of also of young players who were after that professional players, like top professional players. But
Mhm.
the professional side is a very tiny and small piece of tennis.
Yep.
Tennis is that's why I think in terms of improve your quality like human being, and also not only like a coach, also in the process like a player, is the key factor. Sometimes, and because we discuss and we talk a lot about that, sometimes we don't have enough promotion what means tennis like a sport which is able to predict with the example how you can improve yourself. If I'm insecure in many situations, how I can work on that, overcome that situation, and then be more confident in myself. That's what the another thing which is very important, and we spoke about many times, which is the inner talk. No, the inner talk, how you treat yourself, how you the two voices which is always in your mind saying, "Oh, come on, Fernando, how you missed that ball? It's possible. Go to your home and put, in a streaming channel or platform. You go to watch Netflix, Amazon, whatever, And the other side of the voice is saying, "Come on, Fernando, you can do it. Believe in yourself. You can
Right.
improve it." That kind of dialogue is in your mind, and how you can improve it is for tennis. No, it's not only for tennis, it's for life.
Oh,
Then you're gonna be in the business, you're gonna be in the normal life with your family, and that voices will be there also. And that's why you learn how to manage the inner talk. Be generous, be cooperative, be positive, and calm, which are very important. That's why I think coaches who are going to this is a high performance course in Irvine, but more than that, I think it's an inspiration to create transformation through your programs. That's the thing. That's why in this case with Jack we are sharing a lot of ideas. Probably we will publish some of these ideas on the networks. But the most important thing is how tennis can help you, to be a better
a
person.
100%. And as you say, with tennis, it's one of the few sports. There's no place to hide. There's no place to hide in tennis. You're out there by yourself. Yeah, your coach might be in your box, but there's not much they can do. So you have to learn, you have to believe in yourself, but you have to elevate yourself as a person. I mean, you think about a guy like Federer and all these great athletes, and you just so many players just want to play tennis the way they feel like they know they can, right? They do in practice. But the mindset, changes in a match with the pressure. And once again, there's no place to hide, and all of a sudden the world comes crumbling down on you. How can you just focus on the game, on the point, each point itself? And I think that's a very important thing that we learn from people like Toni Nadal and Alberto and people that have, like us, worked with some top players, but I want to hear their ideas. I want to hear what they say to their players or the mindset that they create with their players to have them just play their best. That's what everybody wants to do, is just play their best. And it's very difficult to do. You see it at the top levels, but even in the junior tournaments, right? They don't care about Wimbledon. There's no more pressure than the match they're in right now.
Hmm.
And, closing out a match, when you're ahead or coming from behind, it does take a real mindset. And the guys that you have put together at the conventions coming up and all the others, they've been through this before so they can help others, sort of navigate these treacherous waters of pressure.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's one of the key aspect of this course that we are having, the master course that we are having in Fountain Valley, and because the first day I was gonna be in Fountain Valley, and the second day we're gonna be in second and third day we're gonna be in Irvine at the Rackets Club of Irvine, a beautiful facility
Mhm.
where we have a lot of good friends there, and I think it's important to understand for that, that's the message for coaches, no? It's not only in terms that you can have a wall plenty of certifications, you know. The most important thing is your attitude, because who will talk about you is your students, is the level of your players. That's you can say that you are the best coach in town or in the club or whatever, but the really response that you are sending is how people is learning tennis and how is competing, and of course that's why good coaches are producing always good players, you know, because it's not about you can have one good player coming to your club and then develop, you have the possibility to develop that player, but develop generation after generation, you know, many players is not easy to do, and that's why good coaches are producing all the time that, and this is very important, and why they are producing that, it's because the attitude is always to keep developing themselves. They are able to send the message predicting with example. What I am asking you, I'm doing by myself, you know, and that's a key factor which tennis allow us to be helpful in many ways with people, and also to create a development process where some no we know, Jack, because we discuss a lot, but this is something we know that not too many people will be on the professional, even the college level, but most
Mhm.
of them will be being architects, doctors, lawyers, businessmen, you know. But the key factor is that they can remember our time together in a good way, and probably is crossing the street and say, "Hey, Jack, I remember when we were in the tournament, whatever." My
Sure.
point is that's why it's very important to understand that the power, the value of tennis is help to transform lives. You know,
Yeah.
only
I
a
agree.
few, only a
I
few
agree.
percent.
I was thinking yesterday about this. It's really there's nothing more 80-20 rule than tennis. It's true. When every town I'm in, there's me and one or two other guys, and we develop all the junior players, just coincidentally. And then I go to San Diego, same thing, me and a couple of other guys, and we see each other at the tournaments. But we're the guys that work extra. We spend more time on the court. We spend more money, right? We take, oh, I'm going to lose $200 in lessons, but I can go talk to Pancho Segura, or I can learn from this one, or I could go to La Quinta to go to the
Hmm.
USPTA back in the day. And I would speak, but I would listen to the other speakers too, you know. And I think with tennis, it really is that 80-20 rule. If you want to be the top, and you want to make 80, if you're the 20% that wants to make 80% of the money and not, and 80% of the players and have the most fun, or do you want to be the 80% that makes just, they get the scraps, the 20%, well, then don't do anything, right? Don't learn. Don't spend money on your game. Don't spend money on your equipment and your ball machines and your targets and everything else. It's the ones that put out the extra effort, like a Kobe Bryant, let's say, right? I always admired, after watching that movie, that Netflix movie, I'm just like, wow, this
Hmm.
guy really, just shoot free throw after free throw. But it's the guys that take the extra step that become the ones that are the most successful, both in players and financially. And so that's what I'm always pleading to these young guys. Come on, you've got to make some sacrifices, just like when you were a junior, right? You don't go party with your friends. You go to sleep early because you want to win in the finals tomorrow. It's the extra effort, I guess. It's an old term, but it's the extra effort, and that's what really wins out. And so that's why I encourage people to go to this, to this week's conference in Irvine and all of your conferences. I know you have others coming in Atlanta and Florida and here and there, but it's those are the guys that are going to make it to the top, are the ones that
Absolutely,
put in the
absolutely,
extra.
and that is very important because sometimes our fellow coaches sometimes they don't want to miss some lessons,
Sure.
and they are not investing enough money on themselves, because one of the weaknesses that we have in our system, like a tennis environment and a structure, is nobody's checking. You know, if you are a doctor, you have a system checking what you are doing,
Hmm.
and the quality of what you are providing, because we, like doctors or like others services, we are providing something intangible. We are not selling tables,
That's
chairs,
right. That's right.
cars. That's tangible. We are selling intangible services. How people can understand that the services that we are providing are quite enough good stuff. It's very difficult. Even that's one of the problem for parents. They don't know
No,
which is the right way, because there are a lot of different information, you know, and that's why it's important that has to be in ourselves improve the recognition and the quality of what we are doing. That's why working with you, working with Brian, working with Greg, and with many, many, Alberto, Tony, all those guys which are supporting this movement, RSPA also is helping us in the United States, is to create awareness that you have to be your best version. In this case, it's not about the system. It's about you create your own system. And of course, if you understand that your own system can be improved every day, you're gonna invest on that. Invest. I remember
yeah.
my dream, Jack, only to talk a little bit about my story. I dreamed to be national director of my country. I come in from Argentina at the age of 24. From 24, my age of 24, to until 36, my age, I spent almost 10 years putting money on my holidays, traveling to all the countries which were producing players. I went to Australia, to Germany. I studied in France. I came to the United States also. I was in Spain. I was spending at least 5 weeks every year learning how they produce systematically players.
Mhm.
Why? Because I want to do the same for Argentina. And that's why after 12 years, I was lucky enough that the president of the federation invited me to do my program. I developed a program for all my country, and Enrique Morea, who was the top player before Vidas, was the top Argentinian player in the 50s. He was top
Uh-huh.
10, you know. He said, if I am president of the federation, I'm going to do your program. And he did the election, you know, and we changed everything because I spent 4 years developing all the areas, and we changed everything in 6 months. Everything,
Wow.
But the main thing was I had the dream. I paid the price. I pay my price. I spend my money, you know, every 5 weeks at least every year traveling around. The other day I was at the RSPA convention, which the former USPTA. I came to USPTA 1989 and 1990 to understand how the USPTA is organizing the conferences, you know, but to
Hmm.
understand how we can do it in Argentina. I was talking with other good friends like Bill Tim Heckler. They were very, very open to talk with me about the strategies and how they are developing the coaches, you know, like an organization. And I say, who put the money for me? Nobody. I put myself.
I hear you. I listen. I went back in 1996 or 97. I spent $3,600 on a ball machine that you could crank and it would go up 10 feet and
I
would serve.
remember that.
I had the only ball machine that would serve. And, we developed some great players in the juniors who went on to be, great college and pro players. And, but I didn't have that kind of money, but I said, it's worth it because I can't serve 120 miles an hour. And my players, they're top. They're playing Orange Bowl and they're playing Winter Super Nationals and Kalamazoo. They need this kind of practice. And you're right. And then, I was just thinking, uh, we got a couple of my friends at this, like Peter Smith. He and I
Mhm.
met because he called me. He was the coach at Pepperdine, and he had heard about these. Remember these 20,
Mhm.
30 years ago, the eight
Yeah.
board? And Peter called and he's the coach at Pepperdine, not USC yet, but he was a good player. But he's one of those guys. He wants to keep. So he bought 20 of those. He was my first big sale back in
Okay.
2000. I think I made him. I think he bought them when they were still wooden, before they were plastic. Still, and then Peter Smith, he bought those Excalibur, right?
Mhm.
The sweet
Yeah.
spot
Yeah.
find. And Peter Smith, I mean, Brian Teacher, that's who I'm talking about. Brian Teacher, we became friends through some of that stuff. But these guys, there's no reason for them to keep learning, except for that's just the way they are. They want to keep growing, they want to be better. And Peter ends up winning 5, 6 NCAA titles,
Yeah.
and Brian Teacher is coaching great players now, but he was a great player himself. But that's how I met those guys, was through those types of products. And I was just kind of amazed. And even on the golf end, that eight board, I sold to Scott Simpson and Retief Goosen, guys that had already won the Masters. But like I said, the best always try to keep learning. And I think that's the main thing with the GPTCA is that these pros have to understand there's nothing more higher quality than this. You're not going to get it at your normal conventions. You're just not going to get these types of people. Um, I mean, Toni Nadal. I mean, you're not going to be able to hear that type of stuff anywhere else. And that's why your program, I think, is so unique, is you've got the best of the best that are still trying to improve.
Absolutely. And that's
It's
why finally to talk a little bit about the World Tennis Conference, which is
Mhm.
coming. That's also an invitation to everyone that can be with us on the end of March is online. We have 4 days where we have top coaches from different countries. We have this year 65 coaches and scientists and experts in different areas. Jack, you're gonna be there also.
Happily.
The World Tennis Conference 6. In my mind, I always create cycle. Was the first one was a cycle of 5 years. We are starting the next cycle for the going to the next 5 years, and this is gonna be the sixth conference, in 2026 because we are in the same process of the year. But the main thing is we divide the conference in 4 days. First day is about coaches who are on the circuit traveling with players. We have a lot of coaches who are working like Gilles Sevara, Freddy Fontaine, who is the coach of Felice Guerre. Gilles Sevara was the coach of Medvedev. Now is working with one of the top players, new players coming from the United States. There are a lot of Brad Gilbert. There are a lot of top
That's great.
coaches, coming there. Uh, First day, second day is about biomechanics, tennis analytics, and how to improve technical and tactical stuff. Jack will be there. Brian Teacher will be there. Louis Caillet, who probably is the best double coach in the world in the last 10 years. Last year, I was talking last week with him. Last year, he had, at the age of 73, his best year in his professional life. He had 5 players in the top 10 in doubles.
Wow.
After 86 year, first time the two pairs, the two couple, the doubles teams on the finals of Wimbledon, they were British, you know, and the first time after 86 years,
Wow.
two British team on the final of Wimbledon, and finally, the first time a team number one in the world, two British players. It was the first time in the whole tennis history, two British players number one in doubles. And he is
Incredible.
training of them. You know,
That's incredible.
and also he developed another 8 during the last 25 years, another 8 number one doubles players in the world. It means probably the best double coach in the tennis history.
Yeah.
He's gonna be there with us. He's a good friend, of course, of everything that we are doing. It's an educator more than a coach. It's someone who also is involved. He's gonna be in the same day. Third day is about sports science. We're gonna have a lot of top scientists in the physical area, biomechanics, mental side, nutrition, recovery in the
Great.
third day. And then the fourth day is about human being. It's about how you improve yourself on the process, how
Right.
to communicate, to negotiate, to transform yourself in a better person. And we have a lot. Toni Nadal will be there. Alberto Castellani will be there. We have a lot of coaches coming in the last day, and also the ATP and the WTA. They are doing a presentation about what they are doing for the players.
Right. The World Tennis Conference is fantastic. It's a whole different thing. It's not just for coaches. It's for coaches and players and anyone who loves the game, really.
Mhm,
So it's for tennis aficionados, so to speak.
mhm.
And I think that's the great thing about the World Tennis Conference is everyone who loves the game can learn from it and be there um, and really elevate themselves and their games. Now, it's good for coaches as well, but unlike the GPTCA, it's not strictly for coaches.
And also, which is what we are doing with the main master courses, is alive in place, working face to face. That's another thing, to have the level on next Saturday, this week, next Saturday, you're going to have 5 top coaches in one day.
Right?
Very difficult to have that in any. That's why this is not a course, it's a certification, but it's a long-term fight. World Tennis Conference is online. Why? Because the main purpose of the World Tennis Conference is to create a bridge of awareness and knowledge to everyone, because talent is everywhere. The main thing is that you can understand the process. And if you are listening Jack, or you're listening Tony, or you're listening Peter, or whatever, in your place. Last year we had coaches from 72 countries, you know, and that's the main purpose, to deliver the message, to spread the word, to improve. If someone can have a concept, one idea from your presentation, but on the World Tennis Conference we have 65 presentations. You
That's
know,
right. That's
you
right.
can pick up 65 ideas and transform your own program.
I would say minimum, you'd get one from every
Yeah,
person. You
yeah.
should get more than that. No, the World Tennis Conference is really a great thing. It's great for networking. I still have contacts, students that came to me from last year's because I do the online coaching.
Mhm.
And I have students from all over the world from last year's presentation. So I think it's great for networking because let's face it, tennis is a small world. I mean,
Absolutely.
even though it's much bigger now than it was when we were kids, right? We were talking about Bancroft Super Winter and Imperial Deluxe and Tree Torn Shoes. It was much smaller then, but in a way, it's still a small world. So,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Jack, thank you very much for your time.
yeah,
But more important, thank you for all the things that you are doing for our sport, always with will and the great and the enthusiasm to cooperate and to help others to be better, not only in tennis, also like human beings.
Well, you're helping me to do that because I think when I was younger, I was a little more brash. So people like you are helping me find common ground, and I really enjoy that. And yeah, I enjoy our new camaraderie and our friendship as well. So thank you for including me in these things. I really appreciate it. And onward and upward, tennis is the king of sports. You know how I feel. I don't won't even talk about the other sports, but tennis is the king of sports.
Absolutely. Let's do our part.
All
Okay.
right.
Thank you
Sounds
very
great.
much. See you very soon.
I'll see you in a couple days.
Yeah, exactly.
All
See
right.
you there, and thank you for that.
All right.